And set. Hello everybody, I'm Brainy Diode, and I am back with another episode of Nier Automata. Last time, we finally gained access to the tower that's loomed over us since 2B's death. And this time, we're actually going to get to exploring it. So, without further ado, as promised, I am going to do an exposition dump about the original Nier. So, the original Nier focused on a man named Nier.
Units.
The original Nier focused on a man named Nier and his relative Yona. I say relative because their relation actually changes based on which version you're playing. If you're playing Japanese version, Nier in the Japanese version is a teenager, and Yona is his little sister. However, in the North American version, Nier is a middle-aged man, and Yona is his, well, maybe not quite middle-aged, but certainly older than he is in the Japanese version, and Yona is actually his daughter. So, in the future, I will be referring to it by the North American version of the relation, just because that's kind of an interesting setup that we don't get to see a lot in video games. You know, the main protagonist is almost always a young man, and we don't get to see... We don't really get to see people in, like, their 30s, 40s, 50s be the main protagonists of JRPGs. I don't recall exactly how old Nier is, but it's certainly older than the traditional...
You've chosen to visit the tower today. Don't forget about it.
Certainly older than the traditional JRPG lead. Anyway, so we start out the game with Nier,
You're going to love it.
and we find out that Yona is suffering from white chlorination syndrome. And then we jump forward a few thousand years and meet another man named Nier and another daughter named Yona. And at that point, there are sort of two intelligent species. Ow. Thankfully, it didn't fall off there. There are sort of two intelligent species that are inhabiting the Earth. There are the Gestalts and the Replicants. And as you progress through the original Nier, you find out that to combat white chlorination syndrome, humans had their souls separated from their bodies and turned into the Gestalts. And while the original bodies died of the white chlorination syndrome, humans had new bodies created that were the replicants, with the idea being that after the white chlorination syndrome ran its course and all original human bodies had died, the Gestalt could merge with their corresponding replicants and go on basically as if nothing had happened. And I believe there's important plot stuff that happens in this room, so I'm going to shut up for a little bit.
Two B models? to see you here. I truly am. I'll tear you apart. Every last one of you!
Well, that's not freaky at all. So, Gestalts were the souls of humans, and replicants were their artificial bodies that were supposed to be immune to white chlorination syndrome that the Gestalts would eventually merge with after the disease had run its course. However, some Gestalts were, I'm not sure what the plural is exactly, some Gestalt were beginning to develop a new disease called the Black Scrawl, and Gestalts with the Black Scrawl would eventually transform into mindless monsters called Shades. And so throughout the course of the original Nier, you track down the Shadow Lord, who is the leader of the Shades, and discover that the Shadow Lord is actually the original Nier, and that the Nier you've been playing as was the Shadow Lord's corresponding replicant. Not only is the Shadow Lord...
To me! Don't worry, I'm going to kill you now!
This is getting kind of freaky. Not only is the Shadow Lord the original Nier, he is also actually the very first Gestalt ever created. So you learn that the replicants have started to develop their own sentience, their own free will, which was not originally supposed to happen. And every time a replicant develops their own free will, that replicant's corresponding Gestalt becomes afflicted with Black Scrawl. So it's kind of strongly implied that the Black Scrawl is a direct result of the replicants gaining consciousness. So, you also meet Devila and Popola, who are the matriarchs of the village that you live in. They're different Devila and Popola models than we see in this game, but they are Devila and Popola models. They are the matriarchs of the village that Nier and Yona live in, and their job is to oversee Project Gestalt and make sure that the Shadow Lord can eventually eventually fuse with Nier. So, as part of your journey towards self-actualization as Nier, you do wind up having to kill Devila and Popola, so there's nothing to stop you from eventually fighting the Shadow Lord, until eventually Gestalt Yona shows up and says something along the lines of, why do the replicants have any less of a right to their lives than we do? And eventually the Shadow Lord says, okay, I guess the replicants can live. I'll do it for you, Yona. And the Shadow Lord lets Nier kill him, and everyone lived happily ever after, except this is Nier we're talking about, so the happily ever after did not last long. With the Shadow Lord dead, and with Devila and Popola dead, there was no way to get the Gestalt to fuse back with their corresponding replicants, and as more and more replicants gained consciousness, more and more Gestalts turned into Shades and were eliminated by the replicants without the help of their leader, the now dead Shadow Lord, until eventually all of the Gestalt were eliminated. And also, it's important to note that replicants have no way of reproducing on their own, and the only ones who knew how to make more replicants were Devila and Popola and the Shadow Lord. So
Alert. The structure known as the Tower has opened its gate.
Let's check it out.
So, because of the death of Devila and Popola and the Shadow Lord, the Gestalt went extinct, and not too long after, the replicants went extinct. And even though it was kind of the fault of replicant Nier and Gestalt Yona that whole thing happened, considering their entire purpose was to prevent a situation exactly like this one from happening, Devila and Popola wound up taking the brunt of the blame, which resulted in most of the line being decommissioned, destroyed, and the remaining being literally forced to feel a constant sense of guilt and being exiled from android society, leading to the flashback that we saw in the last episode. Basically, things turned out well for Replicant Nier and Replicant Yona, and really not a lot of other people other than the two of them. I just went in completely the wrong direction through the sewers. I did not need to go through the sewer at all. I had where I was located completely backwards. Whoops. Well, at least it let me pick up some more items and gave me a bit more time to talk about the plot of the original Nier, right? It was totally intentional. I don't know what you're talking... Ooh, that was a glitch. I don't know what you're talking about. Ooh, I can jump up the ladder. That'll make it go slightly quicker. Alright, let's actually do things properly this time. There's... Where... That's not the direction I was supposed to be going in. I am just completely turned around. I'm sorry that I just wasted some time there. But thankfully, we are nearing the tower. So, that's what Project Gestalt was. That is how humanity went extinct within the lore of this universe. And that is basically all you need to know.
A2, right? We went ahead and opened the tower. 9S is already inside.
I see.
Guess we ought to go follow him.
Say, did we manage to help?
You did.
A2, right? We went ahead and opened the tower. 9S is already inside.
Alright, so they're just gonna tell us the same
I
thing
see.
again. I hope they don't die on us here. Well, here's our great long elevator ride again. This probably would have been a good place to talk about the plot of Nier, but we're kind of done with that now. So that's most of what you need to know about Nier to understand what's going on in this game. That's what Project Gestalt was, that's how it failed, and that's how humanity went extinct. And really the only other main tie-in is Emil, actually. I learned that I was pronouncing the name wrong and apparently forgot about that lesson. To actually pronounce it correctly. Emil is his name.
This is a Yorha corpse.
Hypothesis. The corpse is likely a result of Yorha Unit 9S's advance through the area.
Let's go.
Gotta be honest with you, this tower is not super well built. I mean, there's a lot of gaps in this staircase. That's a real safety hazard right there. Forgive me for...
What's the purpose of this structure?
Unknown. Proposal. Gather additional data.
Someday I need to teach you how to be helpful.
Alright, so... it's not exactly clear if 9S fell through there or if he's continued through the door, unless it was shown in that last cutscene and I've just completely forgotten about it already. Which it's entirely possible that's the case. I am recording this at... it's about 11:30 at night right now, and I have not been sleeping well lately, so it's entirely possible that I'm completely forgetting everything. I'm fine. I promise. I am living my best life. It's okay. I don't need to be up until 10 tomorrow. I can stay up late and play video games. Ooh, this is new.
What's up with this place?
Hypothesis. It is a representation of a library.
What's that?
A library is a data storage facility constructed by past human civilizations.
So, another little tie-in to the original Nier. This library is actually a replica of Devla and Popola's base of operations back in that game. So that's a little interesting thing to note.
I suppose we have to hack in to look at the data, yeah? Help me out, Pod.
Affirmative. Hacking interface access rights granted to Yorha Unit A2.
Peachy.
So, why go to a library if you're not going to hack into some books? The boomers would be real mad at us now. Please forgive me for that terrible joke. I'm sorry. Don't you know, we millennials and Gen Zers don't know how to read unless we're reading off the phones and hacking into books. Father, I cannot click the book! I probably just totally maxed out my sound there. Library index. Atom unit storage record, Eve unit storage record, Yorha communications interception record, Yorha server record, human server establishment record, human heritage preservation record, tower system summary, tower subsystem summary, special units creation record, plant species preservation record, animal species preservation record. Alright, so it looks like we're gonna be here a long time learning things. So either this
Tower
episode...
looks like a data gathering system for the machines.
So either this episode is going to be extra long, or I am going to split the library visit into multiple episodes. I haven't quite decided which it's going to be yet. Anyway, let's go ahead and gather some information. So something that is kind of confusing to me is, there doesn't seem to be a really clear cutoff between what constitutes millennials and Gen Zers. I mean, I've seen 95 in some places, I've seen 98 in some places, I've seen 2000 in some places. It really seems to be all over the place. I'm trying to remember, I think Wikipedia... Right, human server records. Outline, predicted human server infiltration route. Release. Dummy protection installation map. SG block, GI block, SF block, genetic storage warehouse, location information, browsing restricted, browsing restricted, browsing restricted. So that doesn't tell us a ton. Unless it does, and I'm just not reading far enough into it.
These records are from the human server on the moon. The machines hacked that deep into the system, huh?
I don't know really why I was talking about... I think I was in the middle of saying I think Wikipedia lists the cutoff date for Millennials 95, which would make me a Gen Zer. I don't know why I'm talking about this right now. Class 1 patient Yona. Chest X-ray, no abnormalities. Heart echo, no abnormalities. C1, continuing chronic renal failure. Renal failure? I'm not sure what that word means. C2, convulsive seizures in the diaphragm. C3, no vomiting, 4 milligrams of luciferase. Luciferase? Preservation plan. The patient's condition makes further treatment impossible. A report will be submitted to the management committee detailing courses of action in the event of the patient's death, focusing primarily on how that information is to be manipulated with respect to the original. As backup, in the event of a sudden worsening in the patient's condition, she is to be assigned 5 additional doctors, identification required. Oh yeah, something else I was going to say about the original Nier. So, the moral of the story is...
Some records on old humans. Damn it, this is useless. There's too many of them.
So the moral of the story is, if you're going to concoct a big grand plan to save the human race, please do not localize all of your operations into one single city. Also, please make multiple copies of the plan and how to carry it out in detail and how to build all the things you need to carry it out. Please? I feel like that whole plan was just not very well thought out. There were a lot of potential pitfalls, and, you know, Nier found all of them. Or at least enough of them to cause the whole thing to go down in flames. Anyway, these 2 studies are actually the studies of Devil and Popola in the original Nier, so that's another little interesting connection. There's another book to check out, so let's go take a look at it.
Huh? Operational summary of model number 2 in Project Yorha.
Is this a real book?
This data.
can't stop. I have to keep fighting.
Alert. Virus detected in locomotion region. High probability that infection source is transplanted parts from corrupted units. Proposal. Hack into self and eliminate virus.
On it.
You know, as creepy as that scene was, I'm kind of surprised that that whole arm transfer thing actually worked. Like, how exactly does android biology or anatomy work that is a viable option to replace a body part? Just rip it off another android and shove it in real hard. Please don't take that sentence out of context. Anyway. Now that
Virus
I've...
eliminated. 95% of functionality restored.
Now that I've brought entirely too much levity to this extremely serious moment... Oh, I was hoping I would be able to save there. I'm not able to save right now. That's okay. Now that I've brought entirely too... Ooh. A chest? I will hack this chest, and then say, now that I've brought entirely too much levity to a series of very serious scenes, I will read this Project Gestalt report, and then end the episode. Maybe. Can I actually look at it? And it's gonna be under Intel, isn't it? Archives. Infant It's so dark. Mommy, I've been born. Mommy, where are you? What should I do? Tell me what to do, Mommy, please. I'll try my best. Please don't leave me alone. I'm so lonely. Mommy. Mommy, 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 Mommy. When did we get that? Okay, so this is all... Alright, that's all information that we just got just now with A2. So let's look. Here's Project Gestalt Report 11. Summary. Due to the relapse of the original, Gestalt units in preservation are now relapsing at an accelerated rate. The process of recording their bodies and gathering their DNA continues, but progress is poor. New countermeasures and development intended to serve as a replacement to Project Gestalt are scheduled to be transferred to the Next Generation Preservation Project Preparation Committee. Dear goodness, that's a name. As for this report, it will serve as the final record of both Project Gestalt and the committee. For information about the development plans for new Android models and the refinement of existing models, please refer to the attached sheet. Furthermore, we have received approval to consider the disposal of the Devila and Popola observer models at a later date. So there is our record of the collapse of Project Gestalt. And with that, I sure can't save, but I think I'm going to end the episode off anyway. Next time on Nier Automata, we will continue our exploration of the tower. I will see you then.